Hello everyone. Our generational leader is from the baby boomer generation, and we have Steve Jobs, the visionary who revolutionized the tech industry. It's going to be an overview of his life and the impact that he had as the founder of Apple and a pioneering figure in the personal computer and technology industry. So, Steve Jobs was a visionary leader. He was able to anticipate market trends, and he redefined industries. He's very good at knowing what consumers wanted. How many people in here have iPhones? There you go. He transformed mobile technology, which simultaneously transformed the modern technological world. His leadership style was very autocratic. He was extremely demanding of his employees and expected perfection in all of their work. He was critical of any work that didn't meet his standards, and he was also very hands-on in the workplace, even personally contributing to product development. He was also quite innovative, as he focused on design simplicity, as we see with our iPhones, and one of the cornerstones of Apple's success was the ease of access and ease of use, which we still see today. He was an advocate for the integration of hardware and software simultaneously, which drastically transformed mobile phone technology and improved performance. Finally, he was a risk taker who was not afraid of failure. He believed in reinventing industries rather than improving existing ones. Finally, he broke traditional models such as the iTunes Store, which transformed the music distribution system and also led to the App Store, which we have today, which allows us access to many free and payable apps that make our lives much easier. And now I'm going to pass it to Katie.
Okay, all of his success was not without challenges. We chose to highlight four main challenges. Those were his being fired from Apple, taking over Apple when it was on the brink of bankruptcy. When he came back, his struggle with employee relationships, and his battle with pancreatic cancer. For Apple, he clashed a lot with the current CEO at the time, who was John Sculley. They had just very contradictory personalities, and that led to a lot of just workplace friction. So he ultimately had to step away, and he actually looks back on this time very fondly. This is the time where he was able to create Pixar, so he does appreciate what happened as a result. When he came back to Apple, they were on the brink of bankruptcy, so he took three major steps, the first of which was getting $150 million from Microsoft to help with funding. They became more innovative, and they simplified their product line, which helped a lot and made Apple the giant that we know it is today. And then for employee relationships, his leadership style is very demanding, like Nolan said, and that just created a lot of friction with him and his employees. He expects a lot, and he doesn't necessarily come across as the most understanding and caring guy, and a lot of employees didn't like that, so that led to a lot of employee turnover. The last of which was his battle with pancreatic cancer. He was diagnosed in 2003, and he tried to use alternative medicine to treat that. Worked for about 8 years, but in 2011, when he was back at Apple, his health really took a steep decline, and it led to him stepping down and passing away later that year. I'm going to pass it off to Zach.
So next we'll talk about the legacy of Steve Jobs. So under Steve Jobs, Apple was really revived. Apple introduced a lot of game-changing products with him in the head chair. A couple of these products were the iMac, as you can see up there, in 1998. It completely changed the consumer base for Apple with a brand new bold design. It's completely different than all the box computers that you used to see back then. In 2001, they released the iPod, which transformed the music industry. And in 2003, 2 years later, they released the iTunes Store, which paired really well with the iPod. It completely changed how people were able to buy and distribute digital content. In 2007, they released the iPhone, which transitioned the cellular tech or industry away from the flip and slide phones into a brand new type of phone. And a great upgrade that they released in 2008, like Nolan said, was the App Store, which created a new economy for software designers. And in 2010, they released the iPad, which ushered in the tablet revolution. He also created a brand cult. Apple, immediately when you hear Apple, you think about like new technology, innovation, creativity, new design. And the company's branding and marketing strategies to pair with that new innovation became world renowned. Everyone knows about their super hyped up product launches. Those pretty much have become cultural events. Everyone tunes into their social media releases or their keynote speech where they introduce the new products. Everyone knows about the new iPhone release every year, or every couple of years. And up here in the graphic, sorry, I don't want to get in the way of it, but you can see on the evolution of the Mac and the evolution of the iPhone, each of them has a unique design where it looks different than the last one. Some of them just become more slim than the others. And same with the iPhone, sizes changed, design changed. This one was plastic. But you can see the evolution of the iPhone. Each generation is unique with plenty of upgrades. Apple's always looking to make improvements, and I think they do a great job of that, and it's what makes them special. It's what makes them unique. Next, I'll pass it to Jessica.
Okay, so how did Steve Jobs influence the tech industry? We know that he influenced it in many different ways. Here, visually, we put culture, technology, music, animation, storytelling, and innovation, but mainly it would be culture. His designs in the products were elegant, were unique, and he would really differentiate his products with any other products in the tech industry, so that made it unique. And technology, with the implementation of iPhone, iMac, and iPad, he was always pushing to make these products just be the most important ones in the industry, and to this day, I think it's working. Almost all of us have iPhone and iMacs and iPads, so yeah. And then for innovation, he was always pushing to just innovate new products and new ideas within his products, and so that's something that differentiates the company and Steve Jobs. And for growth, here we can see visually the difference between 1997 and 2011. In 1997, the value of Apple was just $3 billion, and in 2011, it grew all the way to $350 billion. And now I'm going to pass it over to Kate.
Actually, it's
Oh,
gonna be
sorry.
me.
Hannah.
So I'm gonna talk about the revenue comparisons, and for all of these, the stock and the earnings, they're gonna be from the years 2009 to 2011, during the end of Steve Jobs' era. So if I can replay the video for you guys, you can get a closer look at the changes from the beginning, where we see Microsoft in the lead for revenue, and then in 2010, Apple catching up slightly, and then by 2011, we see Apple surpassing all of its competitors in the tech industry. They had a 152% increase, while the other companies had much smaller, around 20%, while Amazon actually saw a loss in revenue at the end in 2011. Now we're looking at the stock price comparison. We see in 2009, Google is at the top. It has a huge boom in 2010, but then we see in 2011, it actually goes right back down to its baseline, while Apple is the only one out of its competitors that has a steady increase throughout every year. We see $100 per year, while if looking at Amazon and Microsoft, we see relative to none for the stock. And this can be attributed to the fact that in 2010 was the first ever iPad release, and they had their iPhone 4 release. So this was one of the #1 reasons for their stock price increase. And next, we are going to explore the earnings. We see in 2009, Microsoft in the lead as a key player. Then Apple once again catching up, along with the other companies as well. And then in 2011, Apple surpassing And mind you, these are all in the billions, by a long shot comparing to where it started. So in the 3 years, Apple had a $22 billion increase, while the other 3 companies had just around $2 to $5 billion. If this goes to show you anything about what Steve Jobs has done and the tangible details to show, you know, the money value and stuff like that. So now I'm gonna hand it over to Kate.
All right, thank you, Hannah. Now I'm gonna have to quickly go to the part of the video because beautiful AI is not so beautiful. And this is gonna be a quick story. So earlier, Peyton did talk about all of his challenges. This is just gonna be one quick challenge, and then I'm gonna talk about it a little bit, and then go to his closing, which I think is very unique and very cool that we're gonna talk about real quick.
Single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionally spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. If I had never dropped out, I would have never dropped in on that calligraphy class, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something.
Okay, perfect. So just going over this a little bit, you can tell that he's very passionate about what he's speaking about. He knew that if he didn't go to that class, none of his success would have happened. And he was very adamant about that, speaking to these college students. He was very personal and very much so told his experiences. He was very into the fact he made mistakes. Speaking to college students, I think this was great to connect with them. They're listening. They're about to go into the workforce. They don't know anything. They're obviously going to make mistakes. So hearing from someone like Steve Jobs, oh, I've made plenty of mistakes and look where it has got me, obviously they're going to feel inspired to go out and take risks. And then going off of the fact to take risks, I'm going to quickly go to the end of his speech where he says something really unique.
Tree road, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. Beneath it were the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was...
Okay, so he says, stay hungry and stay foolish. You're probably thinking, what does this mean? Like, what is he trying to say? However, ultimately he means, in life, you have to continue learning. You have to take risks. You have to keep asking questions. You're not going to know what life has in store for you. And if you just try to do things without taking risks, nothing will probably go great. I mean, as we see here, he took a great risk and look where it got him. And I think overall, this speech, he was so personable. He was very connecting with his audience. Although there are some recommendations that we have, like eye contact posture, he did a very good job of connecting with his audience and just making sure he told his story in a unique way that made others see his personal story in a way that can reflect with their own and hopefully lead to their great success. Okay, back to Kate.
Okay, really quickly, our recommendations, so obviously that was kind of a better example of his communication being effective, but a lot of his employees did not necessarily mesh well with his communication style, so these were a few of the recommendations we had. First one was more conversational delivery. He tends to kind of talk down to them or lecture, and that just didn't mesh well with a lot of his teams. Incorporating more vivid storytelling, he did a good job of that in that video, making it more personal, having those personal stories. It really helps you to connect with him. The last one is to embrace visuals and demonstrations a little bit more. You think back to a lot of those product releases. Back when he was at the head of Apple, there would be a screen behind him and there'd be like some pictures, but using that more to his advantage, especially as a innovative pioneer in the industry, was a big opportunity that we think they missed. And our very last one was to use a little bit more eye contact. If you guys looked back in that video, he was looking down, didn't really make a lot of eye contact, and we think that would really help him with his ethos, connecting with his people even more. Yeah, and back to Kate.
Okay, so perfect. Overall, our key takeaways: he has visionary leadership, great attention to detail, and an innovative mindset, and challenges overcome. Obviously, we all know he's been through many challenges, and this is just overall led to his success. His unwavering commitment to excellence has left a great mark on the tech industry and innovation, and I don't think we'll probably see anyone who can do as much as he did in the short amount of time he did. I think he was obviously such a great visionary who was not afraid to take risks, not afraid to take challenges, and I think we can all take something from that. And then really quickly, I just have some questions for you guys. So what qualities do you guys think made Steve Jobs an inspirational leader, and how did he influence those around him? I know I kind of briefly mentioned some things, but what ideas do you guys have? Give me quick little one-word answers. Yeah.
I think he had ethos. People respected him because of what he was able to do, and so when people respect you, you have their attention automatically, and I think that's something that he did really well. So
yeah, I like how you mentioned the respect thing. I know sometimes seeing him speak at a college graduation is kind of ironic because he dropped out, but because of his background and because of his credibility, I think that made it really easy for these students to resonate with him. So yeah, that's a great answer. Anyone else? Yeah.
He's like an outside the box thinker.
Oh, absolutely. Very unique in what he would say and what he would do, for sure. Okay, next question is, what can aspiring leaders learn from his ability to think differently and push boundaries? This one's a little trickier. Yeah.
I think that one also comes down to the risk-taking portion. Obviously, a lot of the things that he did and the accomplishments that he had wouldn't have come unless he had taken some risks in his life.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? If not, what questions do you guys have for us? Okay.
Do you have kids?
Did he have kids? No. Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess
He's got at least a daughter. If you want
Just
to,
a daughter?
at least a daughter. I know he's got at least one daughter. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure.
I think he did try to keep his personal
Yeah.
life personal.
Yeah, she didn't like him.
I don't know if you looked into this, but he obviously, like, since Pixar